It's day 4 of our Advent Calendar program, and I just want to share a couple of thoughts with you around the tyranny of underestimation. And underestimation is where we don't give ourselves, when we relate underestimation to self, where we don't see ourselves in the true light. We distinguish between what's fake and what we believe is truth. But we're always doing it where we are under what we actually are. And I want to look at a character in our Christmas story, and that's Joseph. You know, if you think about Joseph, the husband of Mary and the host father of Jesus, there aren't any carols about Joseph. Joseph is often overlooked in the whole nativity. And yet Joseph is a critical part of the whole nativity story. I mean, if there wasn't a Joseph, if Joseph had shunned Mary and he didn't marry her, she would have to have raised a child on her own. And single mothers in Jewish times had a very hard life. They were often seen at the bottom of the social ladder, and there was often poverty and there would have been a stigma attached to her. And I mean, in those days, if you were pregnant outside of wedlock, you faced the possibility of stoning. So Joseph really kept her from a life of that, and potentially kept her from being stoned. If we look at Joseph, if he had shunned Mary, he would never have had the privilege of being a host dad to Jesus and all the blessings that went with that. He wouldn't have had the opportunity to have passed his trade on to Jesus, because remember, Jesus was a carpenter before he stepped into full-time ministry. And so Joseph played a very significant role in the life of Jesus. And if we look at Joseph as a man, he was kind-hearted, he was obedient, he was a good citizen, he loved the Lord, he was very empathetic, he was very generous. And the fact that he took Mary on, not knowing that she hadn't been with another man, all she had was a dream that was given to him that instructed, you need to marry Mary. And he did. And Joseph is amazing, because there are a couple of times where he has a dream instructing him to do something, cautioning him. For example, when they fled to Egypt, he was cautioned in a dream. He obeys immediately. So Joseph, to me, is very definitely an unsung hero. And, you know, if we had to interview Joseph, I don't know if he would have seen his worth and value in the life of the early life of the Messiah. And so I just want to land today with a couple of thoughts around, do you underestimate your influence on others? And I think we often do that. We listen to the inner critic. You know, we're very hard on ourselves. I don't have the influence. I don't have anything to pass on. Not only do we sometimes listen to the inner critic, but we also go on assumption. We assume that we have nothing to offer others. And I think a good way to counteract that is to replace it with the truth. And nowhere in Scripture does God speak about us being less than. He speaks about us as being more than overcomers. He's instructed us to make disciples. So don't underestimate your influence. Do what you do, and do it with confidence that I have been assigned to influence people. Joseph was an influencer in a very quiet way, but he was still an influencer. So this festive season, know that it's His mission, my world, and do what God has called you to do. Cheers until next time.